Dar Archibald's journey is one of a mother who has been able to find meaning in the suicide of a loved one that she depended on for support. She is currently an illustrator of sexual health comics, an active community member, and the owner of Street Level Espresso.
So it's a great honor to have someone tell their story. So this is Dar. I'm just going to ask that we, given the sensitivity and the strength that it requires to tell a story, that we just be really respectful and give her full attention and presence throughout. And I'll let her take away the rest of the introduction.
Thanks. And I will cry. It'll just happen. Don't worry about it. It's just tears. Just like water coming out of my face. So, I was raised in a house where we raised chickens and we had a poultry farm, and my life was really normal and everything was great until I was 16. I was in a bus accident myself where I broke my neck and I had a head injury and I was unconscious for a week or so, and so that affected my family quite a bit. And then shortly after that, my brother passed away in a car accident, so my parents were just basically crushed because, you walk around and you see everybody else has brothers and sisters, right? And most of them have not died. And so the only brother I had passed away, so it was really tough for me. And then I got married and I had babies, and I had a what seemed like, my ideal life. It was like, a boy and a girl, and Mom and Dad, we lived in a house and everything was great. And then my husband, I didn't even notice. We were driving to Cranbrook one day to see his parents. This is before we had children. And his mother and he drank beer the whole way up. I didn't drink anything. I probably should have driven. But it didn't even occur to me that I was putting myself into a family of alcoholics. I had no idea. As time went on, he always medicated himself. He always was self-medicating with marijuana and alcohol and things like that. And, I was fine with it. It didn't seem to bother me. I didn't know any better. There was a whole bunch of, in our apartment, there was the whole balcony was all beer bottles and stuff like that. He would drink, a lot of kokanee beer. He was from Cranbrook. Kokanee beer is the thing to drink there. And so that was interesting. And then he got a job with the government, and he was started the care card program, and he did things that were important, and he did public speaking and that sort of thing. And then his grandmother passed away, who was like his mother to him, and he was sad. He was really sad. There was a lot of things on TV about mental illness and bipolar and that sort of thing. And one, Patty Duke Aston was on television, and she talked about her experience with mental illness. And he started to cry, and he said, "That's me, that's me." He went to a doctor, and he went and did his own thing. And he kept me out of it, which I found really difficult, being the wife, not being able to communicate with the care provider of my husband. And I started to notice things, and he would tell me things like, "It's okay, Dar, it's okay, Dar. I'm going to be gone soon." So he planned his suicide years in advance. He bought life insurance that was, would pay out if he killed himself, but you had to buy it and hold it for 2 years. So there was that length of time that he was concerned about his family and what was going to happen to us when he was well. And then when he wasn't well, he got dressed up in a fancy outfit, and the limousine was in the driveway, and off he went. And so that was my life for a while. And then one Christmas, somebody phoned me up and said, "Your husband's out with my girlfriend." And so I called my mom and to come over and look after the kids. And I thought, well, I would go and find out where he was. And I called up to the hotel that they were in, and this my girlfriend answered the phone and wouldn't tell me who she was with. Because, that's his privacy. I want to keep him private. And I'm like, "I think you're with my husband." So that was actually, all of this is traumatic, but each time I have a really great sense of humor. And I would just be like, "Fuck, really? Do you have to do that?" I love my husband, and he was very gregarious and very charismatic, and he was wonderful. And as a character on a television show, he would have been great to watch. But living the life with him was really difficult. I had one, my husband said, I was communicating with my old boyfriend because he was like normal, right? And I thought, well, I'll just communicate with him because at least I know he's normal and he would never hurt me. So my husband was a director in some company where they were making money doing gold mining. People get people to buy stocks and then they sell the stocks and they make money. I don't know about this, but anyways, so he would get upset with me because he's like, well, we can't divorce because then the money that I'm holding for these other people will be in danger. And he would tell me stories. And then there was this phone call from somebody who called my friend and said, are you sleeping with blah, 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 blah. And it sounded like it was mafia, right? And so 10 years later, I found out that that mafia call to my friend who said he would break his legs but didn't end up doing that was actually one of my good friends pretending to be the mafia guy, phoning him up and saying all this stuff. Is this making any sense to you guys? Because this is what my life was like. You know, like all these things happened. And so my husband ended up committing suicide. He shot himself at his mother's house. He'd been in Eric Martin Institute because we went to the doctor one day and I said, I think he is just doing this until, he's doing all this, spending money, going out in the limousine and all this stuff because he knows he's going to kill himself. And all this money, I'll get all this money and it'll just pay for all the things that he's spent. And I told that to the doctor, and the doctor called whoever they call to take him away. And he tried to run. They caught him, they took him to Eric Martin Institute. And then his idea, when he went there, it was like, oh, I'm with a bunch of crazy people. I hate this. It's terrible. It's terrible. And then after weeks went by, or maybe, I don't know, it wasn't very long, he said, I would come in and anything I would say, he'd go, you can't talk like that. These are my friends now, which was awesome. It was awesome because he really created a community there that he could get support. So he got kicked out because he was using marijuana. So when the limousine driver happened to have bought that limousine to drive my husband around. And so they were friends. So the limousine driver would show up at the hospital and take my husband for a little trip, wherever he would go. Sometimes he would come home to my house, which he wasn't supposed to do. And he would go out into the garage and get his little pipe thing and do whatever. And then he'd go back. And I guess they found out and kicked him out. And he'd shot a gun off in my front yard. So the police had said, it was actually a friend of mine too, and he said, I'm putting on my police hat, Darlene, you need to get out of the house. And I said, I'm not leaving, this is my house. And so I convinced my husband to not be in our house, and he went and lived at his mother's house, which is I think where he was when he went into the hospital and then got kicked out and went back to his mother's house. And that's where we were standing outside in the driveway, and I had talked to a lawyer because I was trying to save my family's money because my husband kept on spending it all. And I was like, how am I going to protect my family? And this lawyer said, you have to have a legal separation. And what I didn't know was that when you're a government employee, if you have a legal separation, you're not actually privy to all the survivor benefits and all the things that you could get otherwise. My husband knew this. And so we talked in the driveway, and he said, when is the separation coming through? And I said, I think it's coming through tomorrow, which happened to be September the 9th, 1999, the day that the computers were all supposed to crash and things were supposed to go bad. So anyways, that was the day that he ended up shooting himself. And so, it's like my life, it's like it just kept on going, And then I went to a woman who gave me some great advice after he passed away, and she said, Darlene, your life is going to become really easy now. Don't fuck it up, is basically what she said. Because, when you're so used to chaos, and when you're in recovery and you're trying to figure out how to make your life work, if you don't have those hits of adrenaline, I'm scared, I'm this, I'm going to take this, whatever, I got bored. And I know I would cause things. I would be like poking the bear. I just wanted to know I was alive because I felt a little numb after all that. And so what I found is, and recently even, I have a coffee shop on 4th Street, and with that construction, it's been awful. It's been just awful. My little haven that I go to every day that makes me feel happy. has just been a place where I don't even want to go, and my customers don't go there either because they don't want to go there either. It's noisy, it's whatever. And so profits have gone down, and it's been tough to keep it going. Thank God my mom passed away, so both my parents are dead. I sold my family house that I didn't want to sell. My mom accidentally handed over all her money to my cousin, so I had no money for the estate fees. So my family home, I couldn't manage keeping it for much longer, so I had to sell it. So the great thing about it, so here's my happy ending, everybody. So the great thing about it is I sold my mom's house. My kids all got their inheritance. I have 2 children and myself. My son bought a house up in Port Alice. And so my son and his wife and the 2 kids are growing up there. I don't know if you know what Port Alice is like, but it's freaking amazing. They're like moments from the water. It's beautiful. So my grandkids are being raised up there. My daughter is in Fort St. John. That's unfortunate for her, but it's only for 2 years. And her husband's a sheriff and going to do really well. And so what I'm doing for my future, because I was feeling like, what the heck? My kids are all grown up. I've done my job as a parent. What's the point of life? And so when you asked me, did you ever think of running for council? I was like, it's funny you should ask me that. So then, when that didn't work out, I thought, well, I'll do it myself. And then, so that's what I'm doing. And I got my headshots yesterday. So, creating a propelling future for myself is like, it's all made up. Life is all made up. You can make up whatever you want. And so you might as well make up something that pulls you forward. So I'm running for city council. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Thanks for listening to me, and thanks for having me.